Hello, my name is Dylan Holt, and today I will be going over my video summary of Chapter 9. So the basic purpose of this chapter is to give us an understanding of basic technologies used for healthcare information systems. So let's get into it. This diagram shows us the Gartner Hype Cycle. This cycle aims to give management information which will aid them in their decision to adopt technologies early or to wait for further advancements. A good example I think of when looking at this graph is the example of companies using cloud technologies which are actually discussed in this chapter. Imagine you are a business who is considering moving to a cloud-based system to allow customers to access information from anywhere. If cloud technologies were brand new and few companies had joined, then there would be a good amount of risk associated with moving forward. On the other hand, if the company waits to do it later, is it actually any better? There is no right answer to this dilemma, but this chapter shows the general flow of how new technologies work. This process, as listed, is technological trigger, which is a technological breakthrough entering the market. Next is the peak of inflated expectation, which is the number of success stories inflated by the media. And this, as we see, is a huge spike within the graph. This is followed by the trough of disillusionment, which is where the negative press begins and producers begin to modify the product from feedback that they get from their customers. We see a little downward slope, but it's coming up, and this is the next step, which is the slope of enlightenment, which is the new advancements are made and even more applications for the technology are realized. Finally, the plateau of productivity is where the mainstream adoption begins and growth is seen. Next, we have data management, which is an important topic because it has much to do with EHR systems, which were discussed in my last summary video. In order for these systems to work well, there needs to be useful methods of data collection as well as data storage and retrieval for later usage. I will go down the list to give a brief summary of each because these are the main methods used. First is data models, which are how we actually decide to input data and what that will actually look like. One example of this is the flat file, which is what we may see in an Excel spreadsheet. This leads to better methods such as database structure, including object-oriented databases, which have picked up steam recently according to the text. Database operations have to do with relational databases, which include concepts such as schema, data dictionary, and metadata. Data dictionary and metadata are the information including names and types of fields and relationships which make up the repository of information about the database. Database on the web is pretty simple, and it is basically like any other database, but the real difference is that the interface must work specifically in the web environment. Next on the list, we have clinical data repositories, and they are a large database that gets data from various data stores within application systems across the organization. On the other hand, a data warehouse is a large database designed to support decision making in an organization. And lastly, we have data mining. In terms of a healthcare organization, is the user interface of data warehouse or data repositories. Next, we're going to talk about two basic types of networks as listed here, which are local area network and wide area network. So the local area network is actually abbreviated as LAN, and the wide area network is abbreviated as WAN. So the LAN operate within a single building or across a number of them. And on the other hand, the WAN is a network that extends beyond the LAN, so the networks are generally larger. In the book, it states that the line between the LAN and the WAN is blurred, and I mean, it makes sense if the WAN is just bigger than the LAN. So how big is the LAN actually supposed to be? And we can actually see in the diagram to the left that these LAN systems kind of make up the WAN systems. So take it for what it is. LAN generally consists of workstations, switches, servers, routers, and connection media. On the other hand, WAN consists of nodes, high-speed transmission media, and the subnet. There are also configurations of these networks that are important to pay attention to. Some configurations of these networks include workstations to LAN, workstations to internet, LAN to LAN, LAN to WAN, and WAN to WAN. And the last concept that I really want to talk about is, as we see here, the World Wide Web. It's networking. Really cool picture I found. So again, the World Wide Web. In the book, this is this section about the internet in chapter 9. The internet is the largest computer network in existence with vast amounts of information available. Since its arrival in about 1969, there has been few regulations set on the internet, and as it is used as a free exchange of information. So every computer on the web has a specific IP address, which allows computers to find each other, which I find interesting. These addresses can also be found on devices such as smartphones or tablets. A concept that I also found fascinating in this chapter is the use of Uniform Resource Locators, or URLs. And I really didn't know that's actually what it stood for, but again, Uniform Resource Locators. A URL has components within it that allows users to navigate the web. For example, a typical URL has the Internet Protocol, the domain, directories, and the file name. So we broke down the URLs in the slides, so I don't actually see it necessary to put another picture up and talk through it, but that's the basic process of those URLs. Another interesting topic are the web languages, which is listed here, and they briefly spoke about these in the book. I think there's a small chapter on it. And these languages are markup language. So a common type of this is hypertext markup language, or HTML. This will define how a page will look by using tags and codes. There is also extendable markup language, which defines the data enclosed, what the data enclosed in tags are. Lastly, Web 2.0 is a new form of the internet, which includes social media networking, rich internet applications, blogs, podcasts, and wikis. And these new advancements can potentially change how the internet is used and how organizations choose to interact with it and the users on it. So that concludes my basic summary of Chapter 9. There's a lot of information and definitions in this chapter, but what I've gone over is really only skimming the surface of what this can all do and what it will actually mean for healthcare organizations. So thank you for taking the time to watch my video.